Hi, it's Eva Cartman, and you're listening to the Dream Big Podcast Show. Place to go, to learn, laugh, and grow. If you ever dreamed of having a magical treehouse, then you're going to love this week's guest, Elora Hardy, who designs bamboo houses that are so magical that when I saw the photos, I knew we had to have her on the podcast. This is episode 111, Big Dreamers. You know what time it is. It's time to dream big.
Welcome to the Dream Big Podcast Show. We're inspiring you to shoot for the moon, take aim and go. We bring to you amazing guests who truly love what they do. Every day they're living their dreams, and so can you. Dream big, take action to reach your goals. Are you pumped yet? It's showtime, let's rock and roll.
Hi, Big Dreamers. I wanted to let you know that my parents and I are working on an amazing project called the Dream Big Academy, where we'll be learning top secret success principles that are not taught in schools. If you are interested in being the first to know when the Academy is ready, please have your parents go to dreambigpodcast.com/waitlist and get on our waitlist. That's dreambigpodcast.com/waitlist. Okay, on to this week's very special guest, Elora Hardy. A few months ago, my parents and I watched a TED Talk by an architect named Elora Hardy, who builds magical bamboo houses in Bali. I immediately said that we need to invite Elora on the podcast because the structures were so mesmerizing that they are the definition of dreaming big. We encourage everyone to watch the TED Talk because the phrase, "you have to see it to believe it," definitely applies to Elora's work. We are honored to have her on the podcast and hope to be able to visit Bali to meet Elora and see her mesmerizing bamboo homes in person. Without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Elora Hardy. Hi, Elora.
Hi, Eva.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for asking me to speak today. It's fun.
Welcome to the Dream Big Podcast. We are very excited because we saw your TED Talk and we fell in love with the houses that you build.
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
Thank you.
So we've heard a little bit about your childhood, but for the big dreamers, and we know that you grew up in Bali, but can you please tell us a little bit about like your experience in Bali?
I grew up in a small town, especially then. Ubud was a little village, a sleepy little village. I think the roads might have been paved, but I'm not sure. And I was one of the only non-Balinese kids. There were just a few of us who were growing up in the town. I remember running around in the rice fields a lot, making kites and just playing like most kids, I guess.
Bali is a magical place.
Yeah.
Our family never been there. Actually, our dad been there, right, Eva, Alex?
Yeah.
But me and Eva, we never been there, and it's actually been our dream to go there. And we started researching, and this is how we found out more about you. We can't wait to ask you all about the passion that you have and how you transform in Bali in a very, very magical way.
Well, I can't wait for you guys to visit. Every day I meet people from around the world who have found a way to come here, and it seems like it really catches something in people's hearts, and they change around to be able to come and visit or move here.
Yeah, we're so excited. And in your TED Talk, which we'll link to in our show notes, you tell a story of your mom asking you to draw what your dream house would look like, and you were 9 at the time, which is how old I am now, and you drew a fairy mushroom house. And then your mom actually built that house, correct?
Yes. Looking back on it, it's a crazy thing, but at the time I was just, part of my normal life. And I think by that point in my life, my mom had already made it clear to me that I, could have a say in the world around me, that I could have ideas that might become buildings. We were always making costumes together, and like just any ideas that I had, she would find people with skills that I could connect with to be able to make things, or people to apprentice with, and it was just her thing. She always believed that that little kids had valid ideas and could also like participate in what the world around them looked like.
Well, I think it's definitely true that she must have like proven to you that you can definitely turn your dreams into reality. Even like fairy mushroom houses.
Yeah.
And we encourage our listeners to go and check it out, because we will link your TED Talk to our show notes, and they can see how cool is that, which was just like a fairy fantasy of a 9-year-old. Your mom built it. So that was really, really fun story that you shared.
Well, the really interesting thing about it was that it, of course, took her a few years from the time of asking me to sketch what I wanted my house to look like to the time when she was actually building the house. And this, to be clear, it wasn't like, oh, let's make you a playhouse. This was like we were building our home for the first time. She had given up her rental house and leased some land, and what should my bedroom look like is what this really was. And so by the time we were building the house and by the time I was going to move into the house, I was actually 11 or 12 and maybe not as focused on the idea of a fairy mushroom house. But so during the way, she had to figure out how to keep my dream intact and build the house I'd envisioned, but also make it like a practical house for someone who was almost a teenager.
That's
funny.
So cool.
And she said she really worried about that. Like, I thought that I would have big boulders in the roof as the polka dots, and that we would paint them red. And she managed to sort of coach me through the process enough that I was very happy with a beautiful thatch roof by the time we built it without the polka dots. So I was really impressed by.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. As us parents, when we hear what seems like a crazy dream of a 7-year-old or a 9-year-old, right? We can still keep that dream alive, but also coach our kids through it. And I think that's very, very valuable lesson to hear for our adult big dreamers who are listening, because it is important to navigate your child with whatever they have in mind, if it's going to be good for them in the long run, right?
True.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did do a dormer window, which I think was like the way of finding which parts of the idea were the core of it. So I felt very satisfied. I always felt like my idea had come to life, but I also didn't have to explain it to anyone as a childhood thing either. As a teenager, when people would see my bedroom bungalow, which was my house, they would just be like, "Oh, cool, like curvy thatch roof and cute window."
Would you say that led you somewhere further in life, in where you would study art and you develop love for art and creativity?
I think absolutely, but I didn't think about it that much at the time. It just was natural to me that my mom would seek my involvement in what my house would look like, and what, as much as she would with like what bed cover I was wanting to choose, or what kind of what kind of shaped mosquito net I was trying to make feel like some. That was just the way that she had set it up in my mind. And it was only years later when I looked back and thought, oh wait, I have built a bamboo house before. I did get to design my bedroom, and we ended up using bamboo for the structure. And wow, that must have been empowering.
So before I found about your work, I always dreamed of having like a magical tree house, and but on our property we don't have the tree to build one. But my great uncle has a tree house that he built for his grandkids, and they're now grown up. But when I watched a TED Talk on homes you have dreamed into reality in Bali, it really blew my mind. And there are areas where I live in Los Angeles that have like huge fancy mansions, stuff like that. But what you and your team has built out of bamboo is truly remarkable. Can you describe some of the bamboo structures you've built? Because they really do look like they belong in a fairy tale storybook.
Well, the homes that I've designed are each are 2, 3, or 4 or 5 bedroom houses, depending on the house. So they're family houses. They're houses that people really live in. They are all mostly set on a beautiful hillside on a river valley slope. So they and we didn't cut the land to make them, so they're kind of perched on the edge of these sloping valleys. They are all curving in different ways. So the roofs are shaped like leaves or other kinds of curves because they're designed to fit on the exact site where they are, and to reach out in the right way to catch the light. And so each of them are unique, but they're all scattered like leaves that are very carefully placed and nestled into the landscape. And the thing is that I think, like the grown-ups that commissioned them, that bought them, they all must have like some little dream still in their heart of that treehouse that they never got, or that memory of a treehouse that they had. And tapping into that, I think, is where people really feel connected and satisfied with these spaces. There is something farther back than that too. I think all of us humans have, not a memory, but like we have this distant thing about the spaces that we all evolved in. Like we've spent so much time becoming humans on the earth, and then where were we living? Like for some of the time we've been living in structures built of 4 posts and 4 walls. But that's because it's an efficient way to build once you've sliced up timber and once you've made bricks. But before that, you look at some wild, like beautiful types of dwellings, and sometimes they're curving and sometimes they're domes. And before that, they were, caves and other types of small shelters. So I really wonder, like, what in our memories from our childhoods or from far, far before that, we have that form what we feel a home is and what kind of shape we feel would be comfortable to live in. And our bodies have all, our shoulders, like the curves of our physical bodies, I feel like they fit better in a curving space. So I think that's what people are responding to when they say how good they feel in a house that is curving around them.
It's also about energy, right, that those homes have, and it's all made of bamboo, as you mentioned. So it probably has incredible feeling and connection to earth and the environment around you.
Well, I think they're tapping into the feeling. It's about the energy and the feeling, like you say. If a pole is curved and tapering and has its own personality, I think that's easier for us to relate to than a piece of timber that has been perfectly sliced into perfect dimensions, let alone like a piece of concrete. I think that there's definitely a different energy and relationship between us and natural materials. And so I think natural materials reconnect us to nature, and we're, like, obviously we are nature too. So that links everything up in a way that feels really good.
That is so inspiring. And but I was wondering what makes bamboo so unique. I mean, like when you go into like Home Depot or something, my dad and I always go there. They have pieces of wood that are just exactly the same. But bamboo is all different. Can you share what makes that so unique?
Well, I mean, there's very good reason that they slice wood up into perfectly proportioned pieces, and so that they can build with it in a very efficient way. So there's not like an intention to take away the personality. In fact, I think it's the opposite. That with bamboo, because it's hollow, you can't just slice it up and use it right away. It takes a lot more steps to slice it up into smaller pieces that you then have to laminate together. And that's also a very valid way to build. And in the future, there will be a lot of useful bamboo timber that's made from that's used all over the world for all sorts of things. And in some cases, it already is. You might have seen bamboo flooring or bamboo laminate, and that is a really good practical way to go in a world that is, you need efficiency and you need things to be to fit into the system in that way. So but the different way to go is to build with a bamboo pole in its original form. What you gain is the incredible natural strength. So the structure of the way that bamboo grows is engineered so beautifully. I've talked to my friend Neil, is an engineer of lightweight structures, and he talks about how the shape of bamboo is just so incredibly perfect. And sometimes they'll even design a steel structure inspired by a natural form like bamboo in order to learn something and make that steel structure better. So if we're using a bamboo pole, we have the efficiency of using something that grew in that form, and then we have the challenge of designing it to best use those properties. So it's lightweight and it's hollow, and the shapes are designed just so that if you put a lot of compressive force down on it, if you put a lot of weight on top of it, it doesn't buckle under it. And I don't know if you've heard, if you're in an earthquake in a bamboo building, the flexibility in the timber means that the building will sway a lot, and that helps it to not crack. It dances and sways around in an earthquake for a lot longer when a more solid and rigid building would have already started to crack.
That's amazing. Maybe one day they might even build houses here in Los Angeles like that, because we get a lot of earthquakes too. So can you actually talk a little bit about the incredibly talented artists and craftsmen that you have on your team, because they are a really important part of building your bamboo houses?
So in our team, we have about 120 people. And then there are also teams that we go to that we hire in depending on which project we're building at a different time. So some people in my team are trained architects and engineers who studied at university. And other people in my team are craftsmen who learned how to work with bamboo in their villages and from their fathers. And so there's this huge range of learning that comes through education and learning that happens where you can express it through a computer or through a CAD program. And then there's a whole other type of learning that we also really get to make use of, which is very far away from the computer and from education in the formal sense. And it's all about the experience of craftsmanship and learning with your hands and learning in a really practical, hands-on way how to approach a problem. So in the best things we do and in the best processes we have, we're really using both, and we're really trying to bridge the two. It is wonderfully made and also fits into the world of being able to engineer it and measure it and make sure that you can prove that it is that it's safe and strong.
So, Elora, not only you building bamboo houses, but we also saw photos of the green school that you and your family built. The school that your parents actually founded, right? And it's built out of bamboo. And I just want to mention to big dreamers, can you imagine how incredible, what an incredible environment I would say it is, right, for kids. So, Elora, can you please share with us what was the idea behind it? What was the message behind it to build the school out of bamboo?
Well, my dad and stepmom, John and Cynthia Hardy, founded the school, and they founded it in part because they had two daughters, my two younger sisters, and they really wanted to like find the ideal space for them to learn in, and also keep them connected to nature in that space. Because I think in early childhood, we have, we're so open and we're so spongy. We're like learning and absorbing so much, and there's so much we can learn from the natural world. And so I think part of what drove it was that they really wanted to hold that and keep that and keep growing their like inspiration and their creativity. And so the other thing was that my dad had just gotten excited about bamboo, and he'd learned how sustainable it was, and he'd fallen in love with how beautiful it was. And I think he also really wanted to build and develop that. And in the process, he built a whole campus that houses a whole school. And I enrolled my son in there this year. My son is 3, and so he has just joined pre-K.
What a wonderful idea it is. And the kids learn, are they like classrooms that kind of have no walls and it's kind of open space, right? And how does it look like? Does it have does school have doors and windows?
So the main building of the school is called Heart of School, and it is 3 big spirals that come together under a beautifully curving roof held up by long poles of bamboo that are like arranged in beautiful ways. There's 3 stories within that building, but on different levels and different size floors. So it's just like, it's like being in the most beautiful forest, or even a little bit like being in a cathedral, that building. And then a lot of the school activities happen in there, but then all the classrooms are scattered around the campus, basically in what was originally a palm grove. And the classrooms are open air. The breeze comes right through them. They have thatched roofs. Some of them are on flat ground and snuggled in the garden, and then the kids' garden, of course. And then others are up on tall stilts and perched above the valley. And so it's a really beautiful thing.
That's so much fun. Do you have classes that are different from, for example, American school educational system, like meditation classes, or like? Yeah,
they have a whole approach. Part of it is to provide, I think, all of the things that you need to know to be able to get into a university, and to be able to, have what everyone else is also agrees is an education. So they need to provide all of that, but I think they're providing it through a really different perspective, and bringing in conversations about the environment, and very much so like trying to provoke kids' curiosity and grow kids' ability to learn themselves and to continue a life of learning while doing that. And I'll know more as I have a kid that goes through the process. But my overall experience of it is just that the kids are really lit up and excited to learn, and they're really self-motivated. They give what are similar to TED Talks at the end of their junior and senior years, for example, rather than, I think they also write papers, but as their main like presentation, they give a talk.
That's amazing, and it's just so inspiring, and I want to talk about it for hours, but we've got to bring this interview to an end. But we have a bunch more, well, not a bunch, but a couple more questions for you before we end this interview.
Great.
So our first question is, what are the things you do for fun?
Well, right now, because my son is 3, I have a lot of fun, like seeing the things that he thinks are fun. So just by getting down on the floor with him and getting immersed in whatever he's playing with, or, getting your toes in the dirt, and I'm, learning that trucks can be really fun. I never thought about that before. So I'm seeing the world from a different perspective.
That's so fun. If you go back in time and talk to your 10-year-old self, What would be your best advice?
Well, I remember when I was a kid, there were a few times when I had an idea, like, I want to be a ballerina, or like, just a different sort of direction. Like, what if and I remember that there were times when adults around me said, oh, well, that's really hard. You have to train for years. And I remember sort of going, oh, okay, well, if that's really hard, maybe I won't do that. Maybe I'll do something else. And there's something interesting in there because it didn't make sense for me to be a ballerina. I didn't even have access to ballet classes in Bali. I had access to all sorts of other cool dance classes, but not ballet. And so it didn't really make any sense. And I don't think I had the right personality to be that. So it's good that I changed gears on that one. But at the same time, there is so much that it has to happen. There's so much work that has to be done, and there's so many challenges to overcome with anything, any direction that you go and that you choose. So everything that you choose that's worth it is going to be so much hard work. And that's scary, but it's just inevitable. And so I think that kids need to get that that finding the thing that they're excited enough about is the way to do it, and not like to avoid the thing that is like that you already know is going to be hard. Because if you're excited about it and you're passionate about it, and that gives you so much energy, and it makes it all possible and worthwhile.
Thank you. And I have one more question. When you have doubted yourself in the past, what made you overcome those fears and continue to persevere your dream?
When I doubted myself, I think it's just a voice that keeps saying, like, well, maybe it is possible. And what if I could get through this? And what if, I think it's just like, really trying to find a way. Also, any little challenge, to get stuck on it, it might be because you're stuck on a certain way of getting there. And so looking to the left and the right and just changing a direction on how you approach it can get you there. I remember when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time in the rice fields running around, and the rice fields are not made on a grid. They're these little pathways that curve and wind and interconnect with each other. And if I was trying to get up to the top of the hill, I had to, find the right path, but it wasn't a straight one. And so just like taking a breath and thinking, like, is there any other way to get this done? Is there a different direction I could take that could still lead me there in the end, and not trying to find the straight path, because sometimes there isn't one.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And also one more thing that you mentioned during our interview, I would add, is curiosity, right? That I bet you were a curious child, because otherwise how would you even come up with the idea of building bamboo houses in a school and having a team of incredible architects helping you and believing in your big dream as well? That's something that I noticed.
I think all kids have so much curiosity, and it's, there's a chance to just keep that going, and to just like keep looking out at the world and keep wondering how you can change it or help it. I remember really seeing this stuff going on in the world as a kid, really seeing that like there's garbage in the ditch, and there's maybe grown-ups don't have this all figured out, and how can I think about it differently that could help change it?
That's amazing. And for a last question, you have already made many of your dreams a reality, but if you look at yourself today, what's your big dream for the future?
Well, I think my biggest feeling dream is helping create this feeling and this experience in the world of like simply reconnecting to nature, having people feel that like grounded and remember that they are so much a part of the natural world. And so to just have that feeling show up and have people experience that feeling by making spaces where that remind them of it, I think that's the biggest thing overall.
Thank you, Elora. And For all our big dreamers out there who want to find more about you and your amazing bamboo houses, can you tell our big dreamers where they can find more about you?
Well, you can listen to my TED Talk, which is just search Elora, Elora, and TED, and bamboo on TED. And you can also see our website where we have lots of beautiful photos, or see Instagram. And those are ibuku.com, and Ibuku Bali is our Instagram. Ibuku means my mother, by the way. So I'm tying it back into Mother Earth and respecting our moms in the idea of what we're doing. That's where I'd say to go.
That's so beautiful. And
Thank
we'll
you so
definitely
much.
link everything in our show notes, and I would encourage big dreamers to take Elora's words into heart and consideration. If you have a dream that seems crazy, that seems unbelievable, and just believe in yourself. Just think again and share your ideas. You never know. People around you might not think it's so crazy, right? Or maybe they say it's hard and it's crazy. And your job then to pursue your dreams, to pursue what you have in your heart, and keep being curious.
Yes, thank you so much, Elora, for coming on the Dream Big podcast.
You're so welcome. I just wanted to say you can be creative enough with your dreaming that your dream can merge into reality. Don't get stuck on the first idea of what your dream is. Your dream can grow and change and become something that is real and is possible.
That is so true. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome. Bye.
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 I hope you all love that episode. Elora's work is so magical and inspiring that as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to introduce her gift to all of our big dreamers. I definitely encourage you all to go to our show notes at dreambigpodcast.com/111, where we will link to Elora's website and TED Talk so you can see for yourself why my family and I were so impressed by the homes Elora and her team are building in Bali. Did you enjoy this special episode? If so, please tell your friends and family about the Dream Big podcast. If everyone listening can just tell one person about this episode, that would lead to a chain reaction that would get the Dream Big podcast in front of so many new people, which would be amazing. If you haven't already, please do click the subscribe button so you get notified when we publish new episodes. And if you have a few moments, leave us a review as well at dreambigpodcast.com/iTunes. We really appreciate your reviews and it helps us grow the show. Finally, if you're interested in being part of the Dream Big Academy, please go to dreambigpodcast.com/waitlist to sign up for our early bird list so you can be the first to know when it is ready. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Dream Big podcast. This is Eva Cartman reminding you that you have unlimited potential. Your dreams are not optional, you need to make them essential. So take massive action to turn those big dreams into reality. Live with passion, the way life is meant to be. See you next episode. Bye-bye.